Mr. President, it is for me a tremendous honor and pleasure to join with you, heads of states, members of civil society, to participate in this reflection upon the Durban Conference of 2001, at which a declaration and program of action was unleashed across the world, calling for justice and the struggle against endemic racism. I had the pleasure of being a part of that conference. I was invited to do so by my government in Barbados, and I wish to thank today's Prime Minister, our distinguished leader of Barbados, the Right Honorable Mayor Motley, for affording me that opportunity to join that distinguished forum in Durban. I also had the pleasure subsequently, over 5 years ago, in addressing this General Assembly in respect of the declaration of the decade for people of African descent. This year, we have witnessed the establishment of the permanent forum in which issues relevant to the people of African descent will be discussed. Today, we are speaking about reparatory justice, about racial injustice, and equality for people of African descent, hoping to craft the way forward. There were several critical features of Durban that I think must be litigated today within the context of this discussion. First of all, we recognize the deep division around the context of reparatory justice being a central feature of that forum. There was an enormous struggle for members of civil society, and certainly from the Caribbean and diaspora communities, that insisted that the matter of reparatory justice ought to be given center stage. That was not to be. However, the language of Durban provided a sense of hope for the future. The compromises that were made in the drafting of that language, creating the context for what we call today the Durban Declaration. There has been significant energy, a global energy, seeking progress around these themes since Durban. In fact, we did declare in 2001 that given the endemic injustices African and African descendant peoples are experiencing in the world, that the reparations movement will be the greatest political movement of the 21st century. We believe that to be true because we certainly realize from the history that it took us all of the 19th century to uproot chattel slavery from the modern world. It took us all of the 20th century to translate the promise of emancipation into civil rights and human rights. And now this 21st century is culminating in this struggle for reparatory justice. This is a logical history. This is a significance of democracy. This is the importance of sustaining democracy in this 21st century. What we are witnessing is the unmaking of the colonial ethos, the racial structures on which it was built, the economic principles of exploiting labor within the context of slavery, and the use of racism as an ideology of division, of hatred. We are looking forward to this 21st century and the promise of reparatory justice as the hope, as the beacon and the vision for us to ensure that this 21st century is going to be the century in which humanity will rise to its finest potential. Since Durban, we have had many institutions coming forward to speak of reparatory justice. We've had churches, we've had corporations, financial institutions, we've had families, we've had universities reflecting upon their participation in the injustices of slavery and slave trading. Many of them have found a way to offer reparatory justice, both in language and in deed. However, there has been a significant pushback from governments worldwide. Many governments have said they cannot see the way forward to address the issue of reparatory justice. Many of them have issued hollowed statements of regret without atonement and the promise of reparations. We have seen the rise of racism taking even more deadly form in the murder and assassination of members of the African and African diaspora communities. What we have also witnessed is that there is a deep division between civil societies and their governments, with civil societies participants insisting that their democracy can be healed and their social relations can be enhanced by confronting the issue of reparations and bringing communities together. They have insisted upon this across the world, despite opposition from their governments. In the Caribbean, the center of this chattel crime against humanity, we have seen the governments of the region coming together to establish a commission in which to research, advocate, and propose solutions for reparatory justice as a way of enhancing the development of the region, cleaning up the colonial mess so that citizens may rise to their full potential within the context of justice for the crimes committed against ancestors and within the context of the legacies of these crimes. Within CARICOM, we have seen political leadership rising to establish a framework and a context within which these matters can be discussed. We have seen the leaders of CARICOM calling for a summit with the heads of governments of Europe, all of those European states that were responsible for the development and the sustainability of chattel slavery and related crimes of colonization. This remains an active agenda, and we celebrate the fact that this engagement has reached the global stage. We have seen in recent months the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic upon these already impoverished societies and communities, still struggling with the legacies of colonization and slavery. But critically, we have seen in the United States of America the convergence of civil society movements with the government that has placed on the national agenda the need to address the issue of reparatory justice. We celebrate our colleagues in the governments of the United States and civil societies, the universities, the Commission for African Descendant People pushing for reparatory justice in the United States. We have also seen, and this is of the utmost importance, we have also seen within CARICOM a call for Africa, the governments and heads of states of Africa, the African Union, to host a global reparations summit. This is so critical and so vital. This is the next fundamental step in the global movement to create a reparatory justice global framework. The call for African states to join with CARICOM, to join with the African American community and across the diaspora in the United States, in Brazil and elsewhere. This call, we hope, will be met with enthusiasm. It would be a gathering of hundreds of thousands of people from around the world who are committed to global reparatory justice as a strategy to heal this 21st century. We are all hoping to enjoy the benefits of this century. We are hoping to enjoy the technological innovation that promises healing for everyone, economic and social justice. but there has to be this reckoning. There has to be this coming together of Africa and its diaspora, the center of this crime against humanity that has poisoned the world with the toxic ideology of anti-Black racism. How wonderful it is to see that we have reached this stage thanks to the leadership of the United Nations, thanks to the forum created in Durban in 2001 that has enabled political leaders, intellectuals, students, civil society to come together to deal with this matter of how to put this heinous past, this horrendous history behind us so that we can move forward. The world is now looking forward to giving top priority to this Africa Diaspora Summit. We do so within the context of creating opportunities for sustainable development, for uprooting the legacies of colonization, for ending the tradition of colonization, that the world may meet at the rendezvous of equality and justice for all. There is no doubt that this meeting in Africa will be the key to unlocking the door that has kept us apart as the human race, looking for justice. Mr. President, I offer you the full support of all of those within the context of civil society and the world of moral order, ethical and effective development. This is where we have reached in time. It took a tremendous amount of energy to uproot this history of slavery and colonization. Now we are pressing forward for the globalization of the democratic ethos, the horizontal world in which all of us on this planet can enjoy its bountiful offerings. But we can only do so. We can only do so with peace and justice within the context of this reckoning. And in this context, therefore, we call upon the United Nations to continue its efforts to heal the world, to create a context within which humanity can soar, given its potential for philosophical and ethical relationships and technical and economic development. I am honored, therefore, Mr. President, to make this short address to where we have reached since Durban. I have seen universities come together to deal with this matter. I have seen university leaders making the statement, we don't just want to be excellent universities, we want to be ethical universities. We have seen corporations offering the potential for reparations by saying, the case has been made. Let us discuss the techniques and the methods through which we can offer reparations at the development enterprise. We are no longer pushing against a closed door. We are pushing an open door. The world is asking, how best can we now do this? It's no longer a question as to if we should. The question is how best to do it for the mutual benefit of everyone. We are hoping that the floor of the United Nations, its many institutions, will provide some answers so that we can move forward in this 21st century, in this now, this urgency of now, to provide solutions to those questions raised at Durban 20 years ago. Thank you, Mr. President.